Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for my top 10 comic books of the week. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is my personal top 10 favorite comic books of the week. 10 books I want to spotlight and highlight for you to check out some of my favorites of the week. At number 10, we've got Dryad, number 1 from Oni Press Studios, written by Curtis Wiebe, with illustrations and coloring by Justin Osterling, lettering by Jim Campbell. Dryad was a really cool, nifty special surprise for me this week. I wasn't expecting much out of this book, and it kind of blew me away. I really did like it. I thought it was super solid. It's a fantasy tale, and it's about this family. It's about a human guy who's married an elf woman, and they have kids, and they're raising them in this like fantastical fairyland somewhere. But it's really just kind of centered on this family. Like, it has those fantastical elements, and there's something more that's brewing underneath the surface. But the book is really focused on this relationship, on this family, and it's kind of mundane at times, but in a very good way. It's very down to earth. It's grounded. Even though it has this fantasy setting, it's a very grounded book with very interesting, relatable, and compelling characters. I thought this was a fantastic book. It's from the creator of Rat Queens and Peter Panzerfaust, so definitely one worth checking out. At number 9, we have The Flash 750 from DC Comics and a whole bunch of creators. Flash 750 is another one of those 80-page giant specials celebrating the legacy and history of a DC Comics character. This time it's Flash's turn. We had Superman in Action Comics 1000, we had Batman in Detective 1000, we just had Wonder Woman in 750. Now it's time to bring that spotlight to The Flash. Out of all of those books, this is the one that I thought was the most solid. I really liked this book. I thought it was great. It's got some great variant covers. Me personally love the 2010s cover by Francis Manapul. Manapul has a story in the book. So does Jeff Johns and Scott Collins. So does Marv Wolfman. So does Scott Lobdell and Brett Booth and Joshua Williamson. Joshua Williamson is the typical writer on The Flash, and he's got a great story featuring Jay Garrick, and he's also got a story that's introducing a new villain called Paradox and setting up the new story in the new chapter of Barry Allen's life. I like the return to the legacy numbering. I like the one-shot special type vibe to it, and every story in here was pretty solid. The Wolfman story is probably one of the weaker ones, but all in all, I thought this was great. The only thing missing, I would have loved to have had a short story by Grant Morrison, and definitely one by Mark Waid. However, what we got was really cool. I really liked it. The main story and all the backup stories, very cool. Plus, you got the Brett Booth, Scott Lobdell, Wally West story that's an epilogue to Flash Forward that picks up on some of the crisis-type stuff happening in DC right now, leading to the next big events. At number 8, we have Batman, number 90, from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by Jorge Fornes, and coloring by Tomo Mori, lettering by Clayton Cowles. Batman's starting to heat up, and I'm not just talking about out there on the speculator market and on eBay or in comic shops or anything like that because of the Punchline appearance. For instance, this issue has no Punchline appearance, but you really get into who the designer is, what his plans for Gotham were, how it involved Catwoman, Joker, Penguin, and the Riddler. This book has just gotten more solid as it goes. When James Tynion first started his run on Batman Solo, the solo title Batman, I likened it to the way I felt about Detective Comics. At first, his rebirth run of Detective Comics wasn't really quite vibing with me a few issues in, and then it just hit me, like maybe 4 or 5 issues in, I should say, just kind of hit me, and I really got sunk in, and I thought that was a great Batman run. So I thought the same type thing was going to happen here, and it definitely has for me. The last few issues have gotten stronger and stronger. This is the strongest one yet of his run. I really like it. It's also bolstered, though, by that artwork from Jorge Jimenez, fresh off the pages from Justice League with Scott Snyder and James Tynion. Jorge Jimenez does this book entirely by himself. Maury's colors add so much gloss, glitter, and fair to it. It's absolutely amazing. I love Jorge's artwork. He's got great perspectives. He does amazing backgrounds and cityscapes, and he's got a very dynamic flow of energy and movement throughout the book. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a tour de force as far as comic books go, and a great, interesting story that's really bringing to light a lot of the mystery that James Tynion's been building up to. At number 7, we have SpiderMan Noir, number 1, from Marvel Comics, written by Margaret Stohl, with artwork by Juan Ferreira, Travis Lanham on the lettering. So SpiderMan Noir is a character that most people have been recently introduced to in the Into the Spider-Verse movie, which was absolutely fantastic, and he was portrayed by Nicolas Cage, and it did so masterfully well. However, the book itself does take itself a little bit more seriously. This is a grim and gritty 40s crime noir type thing, and the vibe is right there. Margaret Stoll crafts a very cliche but obvious story, and it works. It works for the time period. It works for what they're going for as far as tone and mood. And then Juan Ferreira, the star of the show. This cat's artwork astounds me. I love it. He's got a great sense of texture, movement, flow, everything. His composition, especially on some of those double-page spreads. The artwork is absolutely amazing. I've been singing his praises ever since I saw his artwork in, like, I think it was Green Arrow, and then Old Man Logan, and then in that Killmonger series with Bryan Hill. I would love a Blade series by Bryan Hill and Juan Ferreira. I'm going to keep saying that because it needs to happen. Marvel, you listening? Anyway, SpiderMan Noir, fantastic. At number 6, we have Daredevil number 19 from Marvel Comics. Written by Chip Zdarsky, with artwork by Marco Cicchetto, and coloring by Mattia Iacono. Chip Zdarsky's just been killing it on Daredevil, whether it's Jorge Fornes or Cicchetto on the artwork, and now we got Marco Cicchetto back. This is amazing. It starts off the Inferno story. It's going to be a 2-part series that's really been... This is what everything's been building up to, and it works so masterfully well. Hell's Kitchen's been shut down. The police aren't allowed in. Kingpin is just completely unable to do anything. Daredevil's there alone. He's been out of his costume for a while. He's been questioning himself. It's all been building up to this moment. The Owl's unleashed all of his goons out there, including Crossbones and Bullseye and Stiltman. And Stiltman is so threatening in this issue, and the fact that they could get that across was really, really masterful. Daredevil's been one of Marvel's absolute best books. Chip Zdarsky understands the character. He understands the legacy of the character, and Cicchetto, the artwork, the coloring, everything about it, it just hits with flair. It may be sad to see Marco Cicchetto not do every single issue, but as long as it leads to him taking time and pumping out work like this, I'm totally down for it. Everything has been building up to this moment. It completely explodes, and it's got one moment that will just bring you jumping out for joy of your seat or wherever. If you sit down while you read, some people I'm sure stand up and read. Is that weird? Anyway, Daredevil, fantastic as usual. At number 5, we have Breathers, number 2, from It's Alive Publishing, written and illustrated by Justin Mattson. Breathers is a really cool, low-key, kind of grounded, everyday take on life in a slightly sci-fi type world. The basic premise and gist of this is that in this world, something's happened to the air, it's completely poisoned, and now when people are outdoors, they have to wear these breathers, right? And when they go inside, they got to make sure they have these special ventilators and stuff like that, right? And of course, not everybody has access to the best ones. But this is not really so much about that concept. This book is about people. I liken it to something like some of Jeff Lemire's work, especially things like Royal City. It's got this sense of melancholy and human tragedy, and it does it very masterfully. It's a big issue. It's $7.99. It does not take long to read. It glides right through. The art is different. It's stylish, but it really works for the series. It captures a very somber tone with glimmers of shimmering hope out there on the horizon, but the hope just feels like it's always going to be just out of reach. This book really does a great job of building up these characters, building up these worlds, telling it in a very interesting and fluid way. I just love this book so much. At number 4, we've got Strange Academy, number 1, from Marvel Comics. Written by Scotty Young, with artwork by Humberto Ramos, coloring by Edgar Delgado and Clayton Cowles on the lettering. This was the biggest surprise of the week for me. I was not looking forward to Strange Academy. It's basically like Xavier's School for the gifted, youngsters, but Doctor Strange's school for magically gifted youngsters, right? So it's got kind of a X-Men vibe, and it really does feel very fun and fresh, very much like the Wolverine in the X-Men run by Jason Aaron and Nick Bradshaw, those early days of that. Stuff was amazing. It really captures that feel. It's got a little bit of Harry Potter thrown in there, just a little bit, but it introduces a whole bunch of magically powered younger characters that have interesting connections to different bits and pieces of the Marvel Universe, and they are all really interesting and compelling characters off the bat. Seriously, Humberto Ramos' artwork, especially with Delgado's coloring, it just shines. This book is so amazing. I think that As long as Ramos can stay on the most of this book, I think it's going to do well. But the new characters are very interesting, very cool. The setup is cool. I really like it. You're going to have appearances by Brother Voodoo. You're going to have appearances by Magic and Scarlet Witch, and of course, Doctor Strange. I really liked it. I haven't really been digging the Doctor Strange books over the last couple years that much. However, this doesn't even really have Doctor Strange in it. It's about a whole bunch of new characters that you don't know, but instantly I liked them. I felt them. I got into the story. The artwork really helped you along with that. It was really good, and it was very surprising to me that it was. At number 3, we've got King of Nowhere, #1, from Boom Studios. Written by W. Maxwell Prince, illustrated by Tyler Jenkins, colored by Hilary Jenkins, lettered by And World Design. King of Nowhere kind of came out of nowhere. This book is written by W. Maxwell Prince, who is the writer of Ice Cream Man. It's got the Jenkinses on the artwork. They were the art team on Grass Kings, the Boom book from Matt Kent. This one was really cool. Basic premise of this one, this dude wakes up and he's not really a good dude. He's always partying too hard, doing too many drugs, drinking too much, sleeping around, stuff like that. He wakes up. He doesn't know where he is. This is not an uncommon occurrence in his life. And he goes into this town called Nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's a dude with like a fish head, and there's someone with like deer antlers, and there's somebody with goat or horse legs, and everything's weird and wacky, and he thinks he's just tripping. He thinks he's just coming down or at the height of whatever drug he took before he passed out and doesn't remember. But that's not the case. Dude ain't tripping. This is real. And the book and the artwork has got a very ethereal feel to it. And W. Maxwell Prince takes it beyond just the initial concept. He really uses it in a way to tell a nuanced human story. And I really do like it. I like the character. I like the fantastical element to it. The artwork really fits it. It's a little ethereal. It's a little hard to sharpen up. It's a little rough and raw and edgy, and I really liked it. I thought this book was really cool. If you're into something out there and a little bit different, check out King of Nowhere. At number 2, we've got Join the Future, #1, from Aftershock Comics. Written by Zach Kaplan, with artwork by Peter Kowalski, Brad Simpson on the coloring, Hassan Otsman El Hal on the lettering. A fantastic creative team on a fantastic sci-fi western. It's a sci-fi western that doesn't feel like your typical sci-fi western type fare. It doesn't go into space opera territory. It doesn't have like crazy stuff or anything like that, but it does. It's kind of neat. It's a great concept. I did an advanced review. I talked about it on the weekly comic book review. So what I want to say real quick is just the basic premise. The basic premise of this book is that somewhere in the future, mankind has now built these giant mega cities, and everything for humanity is taken care of in these giant mega cities. Think like Star Trek type stuff, like, you know, healthcare is free and it's easy, and there's crazy, crazy technology, food's provided for, there's income, you can do whatever you want. It's a life of leisure, it's a life of learning, it's a life of whatever you want to do, and it's a really fun, like, utopia type idea, right? But only if you live in the city. Meanwhile, the rest of the world, they're terraforming back into its original state, letting it go wild, reintroducing animals that have been run out of that land or extinct or stuff like that even. Meanwhile, you have people that don't want to sign up. You got the outliers. You got the people that don't want to join up. People that want to live free or die hard, basically. So that's what happens, is obviously they don't have access to medicine, to the new technology. Some of them even shun technology, right? They don't have access to the medical facilities. They don't have access to food. It's getting more scarce. And now they have wild animals to contend with again. So their existence is getting more and more primitive, while the other existence is getting more and more futuristic and amazing. But obviously, that ain't quite going to be how it works. And the dichotomy of the two societies and how they work together, and no judgment is cast on these, they just are, and it is, and you get to see how it unfolds and develops. Really cool. Artwork was great, lettering was great, story concept super cool. I highly recommend you check this one out. Sleeper hit of the week. And at #1, we've got Strange Adventures, #1, from DC Black Label. Written by Tom King, with artwork by Mitch Gerrits and Evan Doc Chenier, and Clayton Cowles on the lettering. Strange Adventures was an amazingly cool sci-fi comic book with a lot of richness, depth, and nuance to it. I absolutely love this. If you're a fan of Tom King's work on books like Mr. Miracle, or The Vision, or Omega Man, or Sheriff of Babylon, this book is for you. It's totally cool, fantastic stuff. Even if you don't know anything about Adam Strange, you're going to like this book. It takes that classic idea of Adam Strange, who is this, he's like a spaceman. He's out there. He's a human who gets zeta beamed to this planet called Ran, and on Ran he is like the supreme military leader and hero there. He is fighting off an alien invasion. He's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a wonderful daughter, and he's got a new father there. He's got a life that he's built there. But every once in a while he gets zapped back to Earth. Well, what happens in this book is that something happens on Ran. And now the book starts, and him and his wife are on Earth. He's written a book. He's super mega popular all of a sudden. And then while that happens, all these accusations start coming out. He's a war criminal. He's corrupt. He's done terrible, heinous things in defense of Ran in his service during the wars. And there's this mystery that's being built, right? Really great stuff. Tom King is able to use these kind of cast aside characters at times, like Mr. Miracle, The Vision, and now Adam Strange, and makes it work, makes it pop, does something unique, puts an interesting perspective on it, and I really like the first issue. It's not quite clear exactly what's going on, but that's intentional. This is going to develop and unfurl over these 12 issues. You got 2 different artists on this book. You got Mitch Garrett's doing the Earth-based modern-day stuff, and then you got Doc Shaner doing the old school, more classic feeling type stuff. That's the previous story. Both stories are going on at the same time, so they're illuminating each other, and it's a nice juxtaposition of the artwork. They have 2 completely different styles, but it doesn't feel jarring or disconnected in the book because that's the structure of the story, and it's done masterfully. And Clayton Cowles on the lettering. Cannot stress this enough. One of the best letterers in the business. Notice how many times I said his name tonight. Take a drink every time. You can get messed up. Anyway, Strange Adventures #1 was fantastic. If you don't like Tom King's work on books like Batman, it doesn't matter. This is a completely different animal, a completely different style. This is where he excels. Strange Adventures #1, fantastic. Pick of the week. So that's what I thought about the books I read. Those were my favorites. What are your favorites? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.